The real face of Indian automobile industry is the dealer who really directly interact with the customers. But apparently, we have seen of late they have been at the receiving end in terms of profit margin because of the increasing price of real estate and the various other reasons. At the same time, the customers, the consumer also, they do not feel that kind of satisfaction that they have because of the global exposure. And also, we have here with us two persons who really have a great experience in this field and they are expert on this subject matter. We have Mr. Sunil K. Chaturvedi, who is CEO of Automotive Skill Development Council, and Mr. Nikunj Sangi, who has been president of FADA, and he is on the board of and heading different segments at the Dealership Association. Welcome to the ET Auto, sir.
Thank you.
My first question to you: we see that there is lot of talk about skill gap in, especially in aftermarket and dealership and workshop level. We see this. We have really lack of people who can handle new technology cars that we have. The technology is increasing in the car level. How do we plan to fix this issue that we have?
Yeah, thank you. Now, the skill gap is really a supply side gap, which means in India numbers are always there. India will always have surplus numbers, 1.2 billion population. So you will always have numbers. The question is, are they rightly trained to work on the job? So essentially it is a number game from the quality point of view. What it needs is a strong certification, where a certificate which is given to a person for a particular job role, for a particular job, is considered by the industry as the benchmark for their hiring decisions. So what a certification requires are some background work. For example, you must have a standard to which a person is trained, and then that standard to which he has been trained should also be evaluated, whether it has been the training has been imparted exactly as per that or not. Briefly, what I would like to say is that over the past 3 years, since it was founded by FADA, SIAM and ACPA together along with the Government of India, ASDC has now completed development of skill standards for the entire automotive value chain. And if I talk of only the dealer fraternity, we have 90 standards which are only for the dealerships, sales and service, the retail side. These 90 standards have actually been formed with the extensive inputs given by the industry, by the dealerships. As many as 400 dealership representatives, they participated in giving inputs as to what that skill standard should be like. For instance, if there is a job of a showroom hostess, right, in a dealership, what all is expected of a showroom hostess? It's put down with the help of all these inputs, it's been put down in that standard.
Yeah. Mr. Sangi, you have been directly connected with the industry. You are yourself a dealer of a prominent car manufacturer in India. Also you have a dealership for two-wheeler. Is there a difference between segment of vehicles also, that lack of skill? Like two-wheeler has a different challenge and four-wheeler has a different challenge?
I don't think there is a difference. The problem is across industry, which means that there is a skill gap for two-wheelers, there is a skill gap for four-wheelers, there is a skill gap for commercial vehicles, and I would say there is a skill gap even for tractors, which is farm equipment. And how does a skill gap filling initiative like ASDC help the dealer is important to understand. Presently, the manpower available to an automobile dealership does not become productive till they are trained, which means a dealership will have to invest both in terms of time and money in skilling manpower that they engage. What also happens is that after they have been developed and engaged, you find that they are either not up to the mark or they quit jobs. So the entire money that you put in terms of time and training is lost by the dealership. What the Automotive Skill Development Council will do is give people who become productive from day one. So what I'm doing is I'm not investing any money and any time in training manpower, and which would to quite an extent address my
cost issues in a dealership.
Okay.
And with the kind of proliferation that is happening in the number of dealerships coming up, what it will also help is that my people will not be poached by a new dealership which comes up, because they would have ready-made, skilled, productive manpower available in the market.
Okay. So, Mr. Chaturvedi, do you think that this model, that trained manpower, will help also dealers, increase their profitability, and how is it possible?
Oh, certainly. So, Mr. Sanghi mentioned about cost control. I mean, in India, everything has very tight margins. Most businesses have very tight margins. And dealership is particularly affected by that for decades because of competitive nature of the auto industry. Now, the only way out is to have methods on the shop, on the workshop, or in the dealerships, showrooms, which are meeting the requirement or end results of higher sales closures, higher number of servicing done per man day, etc. That can happen only when the manpower which is deployed is adequately trained and certified to do that.
How ASDC is preparing to, create a pool of manpower that is industry ready? What are the steps you are taking, and what is your long-term view on this?
Yeah, so like we mentioned that 90 standards have been created just for sales and service. This keep things at the right place, retrieve it from the right place. The time consumed in retrieving tools and fixtures etc. becomes high. That converts into cost. Usage of material, if they don't use the right material, right quantities, and that is a function of how well they are trained. Again, there are costs which have to be borne. So there are a lot of ways in which the costs are directly related to the manpower which is deployed on the workshops or the showrooms of the dealerships. Now, how do you get to know whether the person is trained adequately or not? And this is what I was referring earlier to, a robust, reliable, industry-related certification, which is what ASDC is providing. So now, briefly, the skill standard that we talked about earlier, that skill standard is used by our training affiliated partners. We have about 2,200 centers today, and those training centers, they impart training as per these standards, and these standards have been formed by the industry. So which means that they are training as per the industry requirement. But that is not enough. They have to get the batches or candidates evaluated by ASDC, by a third party, an independent assessment agency, who again assesses those people or evaluates those people only as per the same standard to which they have been trained. Now, a word about quality assurance. Today what we are finding is that only about 50 to 60 people out of 100 who go through that training are able to get successfully certified, which means that the balance 50-60 did not acquire enough skills which will make them job ready. So that is how these people who are finally certified, when they go and approach dealerships know that there is the right kind of quality of skills which that person is bringing to them, and they can deploy.
So, if we see the current level of manpower, what would be the percentage of people who are adequately trained and fully, skilled to be at the dealership or at the workshop on an average? What is the current level that we and how different it is from the global standards?
See, it will be difficult to say how different it is from global standards, but what I would say is that the rate at which new dealerships are growing, trained manpower is just not available. So while they can take key people from existing dealerships, a majority of the manpower, I would say 80% of the manpower that they take are unskilled, untrained.
So going forward, do you think the steps like ASDC is taking, how do you see this landscape changing in terms of manpower?
See, what FADA is looking at. FADA is looking at a skill gap of almost about 25 lakh people over the next 10 years. And the rate at which ASDC has now started rolling out training, if it is to become a success, then I think in the next 3 years, the pipeline would always be available to dealerships to recruit trained manpower which would be productive from day one. And it's not just about being productive. It would also be to address customer concerns. If you as a customer walk into the dealership to buy a car and my sales consultant is not able to tell you about the car, not explain your FAQs, then you'll be going back very dissatisfied, or you'll probably end up buying a product which you never wanted to buy. So it is also going to address consumer needs, having trained manpower at the dealership.
So do you think with the trained manpower coming into place at Indian automobile retail industry, how the profitability is going to change? Because you are saying currently up to 80% of the manpower is unskilled. So obviously
For new dealerships.
For dealerships, right? So once skilled manpower comes in place, then what would be the change in terms of profitability?
There are
Because
two
efficiency
ways.
will increase.
There are two ways it's going to help dealerships. First is it will reduce costs, because I am now not going to invest in training of manpower, both in terms of time and money. Two, because they'll be working far more efficiently and they'll be able to address customer concerns, their productivity and results would be much better. Look at a sales consultant who's untrained. If he is handling 10 customers, he'll probably be able to convert only 2 into retails. A trained manpower will probably convert 6 into retails. So that will improve my efficiency and therefore my profitability.
Sir, you said that you are making these guys skilled enough to get into jobs, So what are the trainings involved? Do you take them to the real time experience, to the dealership workshop? What is the process like?
Yeah, so the process is this, that there is a theory component and there is a practical component. And broadly the breakup is anything from 25-30% of the theory side and 70 or 80% also in the practical. The practical part again has two components. One is within the training center, practical. So demos, so there are workshops within the demo workshops within the centers. But the B part of the practical is also these centers, they tie up with dealerships and they get on the job training, what we call OJT. That trend is, as of now, I must confess, in the in the starting phase only. But we want to encourage that. We want to make sure that as we go forward, there is more and more.
So how many dealers you have been aligned with so far?
No, so this alignment of ours is not dealerships alignment. Dealerships are in a way a customer of our service output. So these 2,200 centers are actually independent vocational training centers, which have tried. There are about 175 who have tried up with us, who among them operate 2,000 odd centers.
So do they not go to the real dealership or workshop to get trained?
Yes.
So you have some kind of tie-up with them, or the OEM sends? What is the...
No, mostly OEMs are not in this picture. This is either FADA dealership at a local level who has a tie-up with these centers, or vice versa. They are connected to each other. Or it could be at times some kind of let's say at FADA level, FADA local leadership level, they organize some of these campaigns where there is recruitment of people who are then put into those centers to get trained and certified as per the requirements. But going forward, what we want is a much deeper connect between these centers and the dealerships, so that dealerships can have their requirements given to them at the local level, and they keep collating the data required, and therefore they create a pipeline. We are also in the process of creating what we call LMIS, Labor Management Information System, which we have made progress, whereby in maybe 5 years time we'll have a system which tells you exactly where the demand is and where the supply is. So the certified people are available on the website, which say this kind of a certified person is available in this town, district, village, etc. And on the other hand, from the dealership side, what are the demands? So our endeavor will be to match both the demand side as well as the supply side.
Shifting to another area of concern for automobile dealers in India, we have seen that the automobile dealers have remained almost the traditional dealership. We have not seen much innovation happening. Like you see lots of after internet has come, there are lots of trend in other retailing. But recently we have seen Mahindra introduced their Scorpios booking online. But we don't see dealers, individual dealers, aspiring for something new and trying to do something, new with the new technology coming in. Why?
I think somewhere, Nabil, you are misinformed, because dealerships today, and I'd recommend that you actually go to the website and search for dealers either by name of the dealership or brand. My hunch is,
No, they might be having website, but
it's not
what
just
is the
about website. They are employing technology, new technology in terms of to engage with the customers. Because as the younger lot of dealers are coming into this business, they find that unless they adopt technology, there is no way they will survive in this industry. So, while I agree with you that the penetration levels as on date are not to the desired level, but there is this consciousness which has come into dealerships, and dealerships are alive to adopting new technology in not only auto retailing but also in terms of giving service, in terms of collecting feedback from customers, in terms of booking appointments for service. So all that is happening, and what is
But are you able to enforce it, that strongly that the people, what is the ratio? How much people, book services online and how much sales happen online?
Nabil, this is not something to be enforced. This is something which comes out of market demand. If I do not align
But
myself,
is there adequate awareness among the customers?
the awareness is awareness in customers is phenomenal.
Phenomenal.
It's
The
phenomenal. You will not believe it. As a dealer owner, on a daily basis, I get at least 10 unrelated calls saying that I want to buy this product. Can you give me the price? So obviously, the customer has Googled some place and got my number. So the awareness in customers is phenomenal, and I am talking of rural customers because I am located in a district level headquarter at Alwar, which is a small township. So if customers there are aware of the new technology in terms of locating a dealer,
No, what I'm trying to say, it's not about only being present online or something like that. Why not, like we see, we are other sector, apparel and all, the e-commerce is booming in that segment.
If I may take you on this question,
Yeah.
you will be pleasantly surprised that during our year and a half long project for developing these skill standards, one of the job roles suggested by dealerships, and a lot of them was a media manager, social media manager. So you'll be surprised that one of those 90 roles is actually a social media and marketing manager.
Okay.
And the term used is their social media, which tells you the awareness that the dealerships have today, that they think that there is a job role which is available now, which was not there 5 years back or 6 years ago. It was a plain sales consultant or marketing, but now a job role called marketing and social media manager. So I think from there,
the other thing which I can say, and where I can understand the concern that you are raising, that while all other retail has come online, why not automobile?
Yeah.
Automobile worldwide is a very different phenomenon. Buying an automobile is like buying a house. Unless you touch and feel what you are going to buy, you cannot buy online. So what is happening is that the customer is searching online, is gathering information online, but very rarely does a customer make a decision online. To make a decision, he walks into the dealership which he might have researched, goes, touches and feels the vehicle, and then makes a decision. So why talk of India? Even in America, where the internet penetration is almost a decade old, even there are hardly any online retails of vehicles. But yes, there 70% of retail decision is taken on internet. But the actual transaction, the actual touch and feel of the vehicle happens in a showroom.
So what is the next level? Because we see the real estate, cost increasing a lot. You guys have been pitching for dedicated, automobile zones. But have you been able to do something on this line?
See, we have not been able to do, but what social media is going to change is increasingly showrooms will become smaller. There will be virtual showrooms available on the web, where the customer will be able to take a 360 view of the car, both the exterior and the interior, look at features.
Already it has started. One or two is already there.
I have a dedicated virtual showroom on the web.
Oh, okay.
So you have seen the vehicle on the web, you have taken a 360-degree experience. Only for touch and feel you are going to the showroom. So the size of the showroom will probably reduce the way ahead. And what will also happen is that workshops, where you actually will need to go because you can't do that online. So dealerships will start moving out of city centers because workshops will be located outside city centers where, because the workshop requires a large space, it requires large areas. So they'll start moving out of, and a lot of digital marketing will happen in terms of display and showroom of showing of the vehicle.
Thank you so much for talking to us. So the way forward is going to be digital for automobile dealership as well, but for touch and feel, the current shape of dealership will continue to be with us. Thank you so much
Thank
for
you.
watching.
Thank you.
Thank